So I was talking with a client today, and he was telling me about how much that his family doesn't understand his depersonalization realization or any of the other symptoms that he's going through. And I told him what I'm going to tell you. You have to let go of that need for them to understand, because they're not going to be able to unless they've been through it, which every now and then I talk to somebody that their family has been through it. And if that's you, or maybe it's a friend or a coworker or just somebody that you know that's been through the symptoms, well, you hit the jackpot, because that is extremely rare, unfortunately. But having that expectation that people are going to understand what you're going through is only going to add a layer of stress to the existing onion of stress that is leading to the traumatic stress that's producing the DPDR. That's why DPDR are there. They are dissociative symptoms. Dissociation comes from a Latin root word that means to sever or separate. It's your brain trying to separate you because you're so stressed out that your brain thinks you're about to be eaten by a lion. And if you were going to be eaten by a lion, the more detached from your body and detached from the material world that you are, the less pain that you're going to feel. And so it's quite ironic, but these symptoms are actually your brain trying to help you. I always say to my clients that you're experiencing the right symptoms just at the wrong time. The symptoms are appropriate whenever you're in a trauma state, a state of overwhelming stress. But most likely, there are some exceptions. Every now and then somebody is under physical abuse, or there's just some sort of situation where they are actually in danger, but it's so rare. 99.9% of the time, you're not in any immediate physical danger, but yet your nervous system is acting as if you are and is preparing you to literally be eaten by a lion. Well, why is that? Well, most of the time, not always, but most of the time whenever I get on a phone call with somebody to discuss working together, they've got a pretty long history of stress and anxiety. Again, there are some exceptions to that. In fact, I got on a call with somebody just yesterday, I think, and they actually had a relatively calm life, and then suddenly they started to experience severe depersonalization, realization, and other trauma symptoms. But most of the time, especially if it's chronic DPDR and other trauma symptoms for months and several years, you've probably been through a lot. And the stress built up. I always describe it, as like water filling up in a cup. And eventually you hit that overwhelm point and your brain thinks that you're dying, and you enter a trauma response. It's also called the freeze response. So we first try to fight or flee. And then if we can't fight or flee, then we enter into the freeze response. And that's where technically it's a mammalian defense mechanism where you're playing dead, hoping that the predator walks away and loses interest, because predators prioritize a prey that put up a fight. But it also is your body and nervous system shutting down just in case the lion or predator doesn't believe that you're dead and decides to eat you. And part of the way that our brain does that is it shuts down. Bessel van der Kolk calls it the mohawk of self-awareness. It's all the brain structures that are responsible for you feeling connected to your body, to yourself, to your surroundings starts to shut down. But you don't know that initially, and that's why people freak out. But nonetheless, it's such a bizarre, mystical, indescribable experience that you can have people that care about you and they're trying to help you. They're trying to understand, but they don't. But the reason why you keep doing this, like trying to get them to understand, is it speaks to our innate desire to have our experience validated. It speaks to our innate desire for co-regulation, which is where another human being makes you feel safe and calm. It's built into all of us. And whenever you're not getting that and you're overwhelmed by stress, it's really, really difficult. But you're already stressed out enough, and so don't add yet another layer of stress by trying to get people to understand something that they cannot ever understand unless they've been through it, right? And then I also wanted to talk about this for a second. Another thing too is people who love you will try to help you with things that aren't that helpful. That's the other thing that my client was saying. They're like, oh, just, stop thinking about it. Or, just go for a walk. Or, just give it time and it'll get better. Or sometimes, it's rarer, but it definitely happens sometimes, friends or family will actually come against you and make you feel weak and be like, hey, you just toughen up, or, you're being illogical, just snap out of it. But most of the time, they're trying to help you with very general things that may be helpful in general situations and are good things generally speaking. But I always tell people recovery from whether it's anxiety or trauma symptoms like DPDR, recovery doesn't happen by doing a bunch of random positive activities. Whenever I get on a call with somebody and they tell me what they've done so far, cold plunges, saunas, breathing, positive thinking, CBT, talk therapy, medications, nutrition. I think I mentioned positive thinking, positive self-talk, supplements, trying to outlogic the symptoms, trying to outthink them, acceptance, distraction. They've got a plethora of things that they've tried that maybe those things are actually not all bad. In fact, some of those things that I mentioned are very good. Not talking about distraction, to be clear. That's the worst thing that you could do for this, because you're not becoming interoceptive. Interoception is the experience of the embodied self. It's really what trauma and anxiety are. It's whenever your body is constantly preparing for a threat that never comes. We need to include the body. That is the missing piece in most people's recovery. Then the second main missing piece is co-regulation. Humans, I can show you studies that have been replicated. So it wasn't some rogue one-off study that showed that up to 45% of rewiring your nervous system out of these symptoms is co-regulation, humans. But nonetheless, they've done all these random positive activities and it hasn't worked. Why? Because recovery does not happen when you do a bunch of random positive activities. It happens when you do things that specifically communicate safety to your nervous system, which will get you out of the threat responses of fight, flight, freeze. So anyway, with that being said, and again, the two primary things are getting the body where it needs to be and then being healed through the safety that comes from a secure attachment relationship and somebody that can build hope in you and connect with you throughout the recovery process. And that's what I do for people. And that's a big reason why people go to some of the best therapists or doctors in the world, and not saying they're not amazing, but they don't see the results. And then they try all this stuff and it doesn't work. And then they come to me and they start seeing amazing results. Well, part of it is because I am teaching a body-based strategy that is extremely effective. But the biggest reason why I can help people is because I know what they're going through. And not only do I know what they're going through, but all the people that are in my program that are recovering, I just got off a meeting just a few minutes ago. They know what that person's going through. So they're able to join a community of people that understand them. And it really, really encourages them. Humans heal humans. And so anyway, with that being said, let go of this need for people to understand you and what you're going through. I understand what you're going through, and there will be some people that you can find online that get it, but you're creating resistance, and resistance brings suffering. And I'm not saying there's never a time to resist. It depends on what we're talking about. But I try to avoid resistance at all costs because it's going to stress you out so much. And right now, you're at a state of traumatic stress. The last thing you need is another layer of resistance. So just let it be okay exactly as it is, that they don't understand you, right? And that will help your recovery immensely. That is it. I hope this helped you. Click like if it did. Help me get this out there, the YouTube algorithm. We'll see that, and comment something below if this video helped you, and share it. Subscribe. Let's try to get to... if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber and you'd like to help me get to my goal here, I want to get to, what are we at right now? Let's try to get to 40. I want to get to 45,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So we're at 43.4. Let's see if we can do it, guys. And that is it. I will talk to you very soon. Hope you have a good day.